That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet, when you could not prove anyone right or wrong.
All the expertise was contained in the people involved with the conversation. I'm Peter.
I'm Cecil, and I hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, "That don't sound right," send us a comment. You're one of us.
It was good, too, because the warmth of the exhaust, kept us warm as we drove back in the wintertime. Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're your co-hosts. I'm Peter Billman.
I'm Cecil Davis.
And we're just trying to have a conversation in the new year without Googling or fact-checking each other online. Those things can so easily kill the conversation.
That's right. This is the first episode of season number 5.
So we're doing this and we're adjusting our seasons by the calendar year. Is that right?
Right. So we started that a little bit back. So there's a first season that's mainly just bonus episodes where we were getting the podcast tuned in. And then the first one was actually when you and I did the first episode. But it's been 5 seasons and we're doing about moving into the 4th calendar year.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of episodes.
Well, it's good to have some of the family in town. Some of the original podcasters with you. It was good to see Sophie and Ella and how they helped get it all underway.
It's been good to have everybody home for the holidays. But speaking of home for the holidays, Peter,
back to the real world.
That's right. Did you ever, for the holidays, I know you have, travel a long distance in a car as a kid?
Oh my goodness. You have no idea.
Whether it was holidays or...
We would drive. So I grew up in Annapolis, Maryland. And so we would go down to Florida to see basically my dad's side of the family. So his mom and dad, my Nana and grandpa, which amounted to about a 14-hour drive in the car.
Okay.
And I can probably count on one hand the number of times we broke the trip up in half.
So y'all just go the whole distance.
The whole distance.
So we had a station wagon, and my grandparents at this time lived in Georgia.
All right.
And so we would go from Rocky Mount to Georgia, which was probably at least 6 or 7 hours. And we had I would have loved a 6-hour drive to go see my grandparents. Good grief. Right. You had twice that. So you're in a car. The only source of entertainment was the radio, and that was controlled by whoever was sitting in the front seat.
Basically, yeah, that's right.
If it was on at all. And you had AM and you had FM, and that was it as far as any type of electronic entertainment inside the car.
And then I guess another option is to try to sleep.
Right. Or read if you're the type of person who could read in a car.
Were you?
I could read in a car. Yeah, I don't get motion sickness.
Yeah, I can't remember having too many books in the car with me. Maybe I know my brother had motion sickness. I don't think I did, but I don't think the reading was just my thing in a car.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, we were in a 72 International Scout a lot of that time. And so...
Y'all took the Scout down there?
Cecil, we would take the Scout down there. We'd take it in the winter. We'd take it in the summer. The thing had no air conditioning.
Did they have back seats?
The Scout has a back seat. Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It has a front bench seat, and then it does have a back seat. I mean, it's like it's like a Bronco. So it had a back seat. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of a rough ride, wasn't it?
Sometimes we'd fold that seat up and have that big area, and my brother and I, we'd sleep in back there if we were doing a night run to either direction. It was good too because the warmth of the exhaust, kept us warm as we drove back in the wintertime.
So my parents would lay the back seat down and put a mattress in the back of the station wagon.
Oh, that's
and then
perfect.
they would lay us in there asleep and just hope we would sleep as long as we could until the sun came up and the car became unbearably hot.
Right.
And then you had to wake up.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing that doesn't sound right, because that's the name of the show, and we had to kind of make our own entertainment. So I'm gonna ask you about some of the things that I'm sure you did, and then I'll tell you the game that my brother and I came up with that was a completely made up game.
Yeah.
So probably everybody, you played the alphabet game, I'm sure.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I can really only remember one game that we played. And it wasn't until my brother and I were older. So some of the games that I think of now that I play with our kids, we didn't play growing up. I wish we did, but we didn't. Like the alphabet game, yeah. And that's the game where you're trying to race through the alphabet by identifying words that you see on signs as you drive by, right?
Right. And so there were different variations. Sometimes you had to call out the word and say, it was like for Q, quality in, or you could only use the first letter of the word, or you got a little more liberal and say, okay, we can use the words that are on cars or on bumper stickers or on trucks. So it depended. We had different variations.
Yeah. The variation that we kind of settled on is the word had to be stationary, so it could not be on a moving object.
Yeah.
And it had to be in front of you. You couldn't turn around behind you.
That's my trick, is always turn around and see the sign on the other side.
That's right.
And there was, we would play that game a lot going down to Bladenboro, and there were certain places on the road where you knew there was a queue. So you tried to get the queue before that sign came up, and there was like one Z all the way down to Bladenboro. You always want to make sure you were at Z by the time you got to that sign.
Right.
Now, also, probably on a 14-hour drive down to Florida, you were able to play the license plate game. Whereas that's where you see how many different states you can find on license plates.
Yes. And going down to Florida, actually, once you got to Florida is where you had the highest concentration of out-of-state license plates, right?
Yeah.
Because they were all converging onto Florida. Going back to Maryland, it was a little bit a tougher ask.
What was the one game you said you played, you and your brother?
The one game I remember playing was a game called Outburst. Have you heard of this game?
No.
So Outburst is a game, and it's a co-op. It's two teams. So it was, there's four of us, and so you divide up in two teams. And the game has a big set of cards, and at the top of the card is a subject, and then underneath that subject were 10 words associated with that subject. And it was your task to try to guess as many on that list as you could. So for instance, the card could have said fruit, right? So you got to name 10 fruits. Now you might think it's the 10 most popular fruits, but it's not. It's the 10 fruits that this particular author of this game decided to put on his card. So you might think apples and oranges and pears would be on there, but in reality, you'd find persimmons and other crazy fruits on there. But the idea is that you have 30 to 60 seconds to throw out as many fruits as you can in the hopes that you got the list.
And so this was a purchased game.
This was a purchased game. Gotcha. Yeah, it came in a box, but it was very helpful.
Yeah. So we had a few purchased games. We had magnetic checkers and magnetic chess.
Yeah.
You always tended to get one of those for Christmas. And then we had travel bingo. That had a little bingo card with slots in it to hold your marker. Mm-hmm. And it would be things like, see a cow or see an 18-wheeler or pass a gas station. And when you did that, you would, and then whoever got the most things first won the bingo.
I do remember that particular game. And for some reason, I don't know, I think it was like you said, it was a purchase game and we lost it. But to this day, I think that'd be my favorite game.
Bingo?
Oh yeah. Interstate bingo, right?
The thing about any type of purchased game in a car is that you're going to lose the pieces.
Oh, that's why magnetic risk never really took off.
Was there a magnetic risk?
I don't remember seeing one. That's why you didn't see one.
Yeah, you were going to lose. Yeah, by the time a trip is over, you were going to have lost several of the pieces to whatever game you had. Or in the case of me and my brother, we may have gotten in a fight and thrown it back and forth across the car until our father disrupted whatever shenanigans we had going on.
Yeah, those pieces are forever wedged between the cushions of the seat.
That's right. Yeah, if we got to where we couldn't get along in the back seat, then we had the imaginary line between the two of us that the other one could not cross upon punishment of pain.
During Christmas, though, I do remember having toys to play with, at least on the trip back, and we would sit on the floor, kind of kneel backwards and play on the seat, as that was our, to play with our new toys. So I do remember that.
Was there the back of the Scout carpeted?
No, it was a rubber mat.
Okay.
So if we ever slept back there, we made like a pallet. But no, it was a rubber mat.
Okay, so there wasn't like any fat mat vibration padding between you and the powertrain of that Scout, was there?
No, we felt the raw power of the beast.
All right, so here's the thing. Here's what.
But yes, you have a game, and this is why we really decided to make this episode, is that you explained this game, and I immediately said that doesn't sound right. Go.
So there were two games. The first one is going to sound relatively right. So we had a game that my brother and I created completely ourselves. And so you'd be traveling on a trip, and you would start to sing a song, and the other person would have to immediately start singing another song, or they would lose. And you could do anything. You could do TV shows. You could do any type of popular song, any hymn, whatever you wanted, any type of song.
Row, row, row your boat?
Row, row, row your boat. Yeah, you would always go back to the simple ones if you couldn't think of one. That was always your lifeline. And the rules were pretty simple. So you had to immediately start singing another song. And if you delayed, then you lost. And then if you started repeating yourself in a song, you could also lose. So if you're could not remember the rest of the lyrics, you could also lose the game.
Oh, that's pretty tough. Well, when does the game end? When someone
when we got to the fight.
What if you come to the end of the song? Every song has an ending.
Well, that's the thing, is that if you were able to make it to the end of the song and the other person doesn't start singing, then they lost.
I mean, what if you start singing 99 bottles of beer on the wall?
Well, as long as the other person started singing a song, then you had to sing a new song. You couldn't repeat songs.
Oh, so you would start singing. I would start singing. As soon as I started singing, you would have to change songs?
Right. You would have to change the song, and then I would have to change the song. Then you would have to change the song. You keep doing that until either one person cannot think of a song or the other person can't remember all the verses to the song they're singing.
I can see this game being interrupted by parents. Because there's only so much the wheels on the bus go round and round one can do.
Yeah, so you kind of had a catalog of songs in your head that you would get started off with, but then eventually you would get stumped and you'd lose the game. And so that was a pretty straightforward game that we came up with. And again, it was very subjective because we were having to kind of decide when someone had gone too long in thinking of a new song, because we didn't have a timer. We just had these agreed upon rules. You're like, okay, I couldn't think of a song, so I lost. We were actually pretty good at self-refereeing.
Okay.
But there was one game that we had that went one level deeper on the trust level.
Let's hear it.
Trust scale. So we had a game called Bottle. Bottle. Bottle.
Like 99 bottles of beer on the wall.
99 bottles.
Okay.
Right. So the way this game was, and this game was completely in your mind. There's no magnetic chessboard. There's nothing. So he would look out his window and I would look out my window, but you'd have to look straight ahead. Okay.
Well, straight ahead.
Well, perpendicular to the car.
All right, so you're looking sideways. You're looking straight
sideways out of the car, but you're
perpendicular to the motion of the car. Okay.
Right, but you can't turn your head to the front of the car, to the back of the car. You got to be looking straight out the side.
So the things are whizzing by you.
So things are whizzing by you. They're coming into your field of vision and leaving your field of vision, and that's where the game comes in. So in your mind, you would have a bottle that would be hanging out over the edge of the road into the shoulder. So if you're on my brother's side of the car, he had it tough because he was usually facing a lane of traffic, which probably, now that I think about it, made it much harder to play this game. Because I was on the right side of the car, he was on the left side of the car.
Or were you on 2-lane roads?
But yeah, sometimes it was easier on a 2-lane road, but if we're on a 4-lane road, he always had it difficult because he was always on the driver's side.
Yeah, I would think being on a 2-lane road, in your brother's case, would have it the worst because you can't see the oncoming traffic.
Oh, right. He always had the tougher play, now that I think about it, because he was on the
Remind me, is he older or younger?
He was younger. Or is younger.
So you played that right, didn't you?
That's right. So this bottle, you could move it up and down or back and forth.
Up and down.
Or back and forth, toward the car or away from the car.
Okay, all right.
And so mentally, you had to, as things came into your field of vision, move the bottle either back and forth or up and down to dodge whatever was coming into your field of vision.
Yeah, all right.
If you didn't, and whatever came into the field of vision hit the bottle, then the bottle broke and you lost the game.
But this is all in your mind.
This is all in your mind. This is
not even a reflection in the glass that you're feeling.
Not even a reflection in the glass. This is all imaginary. And we could play this for what, in retrospect, seemed like hours.
What you guys, I guess neither one of you are subject to motion sickness, are you?
No.
Because
maybe this is why we don't get motion sick, because we could play bottle for hours.
Because, I mean, you're looking out the side of a window, things going by.
Yep.
That can cause you cause some people some motion sickness. I know when I'm pulling up to a train and the train goes whizzing by.
Yeah.
I have to look away sometimes because the constant motion of the train moving in front of me, it kind of gets me a little disoriented.
Huh. Yeah, no, we could just stare out the window for a long period of time. Then everything was, I obviously couldn't see what he was thinking. He couldn't see what I was thinking. And you were controlling this imaginary bottle. And then if it broke, you would have to tell the other person, oh, the bottle broke.
So what typically broke your bottle, Cecil?
Yeah. So usually for me, if a big ravine, or if we went across a bridge and you didn't see the bridge, then the bottle broke. Because it would fall down into the river. It'd
fall down into the creek or the
river.
Right,
exactly.
So you'd have to make it jump up high.
You have to make it jump. Clear. Back toward the car so that it was back on the road and not out away from the road.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, if you had your bottle over the yellow line, you generally were in good shape.
Yeah, there were probably some safer zones, but the thing was to be out there where it was challenging.
This whole thing sounds challenging.
It was all in your head.
All right, so tell me about your bottle. What bottle did you use?
So I used a mason jar. That was what I always imagined. And I don't know, now that I think about it, I don't know what bottle my brother, I'd have to ask him what bottle he imagined. Yeah, mine was a mason jar.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this, and I'm thinking I'd probably use that greenish glass colored Coke bottle.
Yeah. Because it's thicker.
Well, I don't think that would help most of the things I would fall into. Run into.
Can you get about 18-wheeler?
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter.
I don't think so. But yeah, your brother had a definite disadvantage because oncoming traffic comes so quick. He didn't have time to react.
Yeah, I think now that we're talking about this 50 years later, he probably had a much harder time.
It's quite possible, though. He kept it out of the lane of traffic. He was smart like that. He kept it out of the lane of traffic. So it was either on the double yellow line or it was on the white line on the other side, and which should be fine.
So what I would love to know, if people would write in and just tell us games that you made up while you were traveling, especially if they were games like this that were completely in your mind.
So again, so how do you know? So this is pretty much honor code.
Yeah. You had to be honest about whether the bottle broke or not. Whether something came into your field of vision that you did not react to mentally.
What was the sensation when a bottle broke? Was there like screaming and
oh man, the bottle broke.
What's going on? What happened?
There would be some, you would announce it loudly that the bottle broke. I can't imagine what my parents must have thought.
Riding in the front of the car,
listening to us talking about
songs.
Bottles moving back and forth and bottles breaking.
Yeah, they're probably whispering to each other. Did you give him a Coke? No.
But that is still one of my favorite memories is us playing that game. Because again, we could play it for what seemed like in my memory for hours. And that may not have been that long, but it would certainly keep us entertained for a while.
Did y'all trade stories on what broke your bottles?
Oh, we could talk for a long time about what happened, especially if we came up on something together, like if a bridge could derail both of our efforts. So
yeah.
And then we would discuss what we were doing, or if we did some particular good move, we would discuss what that move was.
Did you ever suspect foul play?
No, man, no. To cheat would have violated the game. The game wouldn't work if you cheated.
But you never suspected.
No.
You went across this bridge that you almost missed Cecil, and you were certain that there's no way your brother caught that.
Yeah, no, I don't remember there being any disagreements about bottle.
Maybe no disagreements, but just suspicion.
I don't remember any foul play or suspicion of foul play. This was gamemanship at its purest form.
I'd like to hear from Brian on this one.
I'll see if I can get him to weigh in on it.
I considering you put him on the left side of the car, I am wondering if he suspected you were not entirely honest all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if we made any exceptions for him being on that side of the car because we had our own side, and that was always this. I bet if we got in the car right now, we would probably get in on the passenger and the driver's side.
Interesting, and I would say that this game don't sound right.
No, it was fun though.
Tell us again what age this was going on at.
I would think we were like somewhere between 5 and 9.
Okay.
And so I was
still pretty innocent.
The thing I can't imagine now is like, kids now, sounds like a cliche, but people don't have to entertain themselves in that way anymore. There's entertainment packages in your car. You have a phone, or you have a computer, you have a laptop, or you have some type of pad. So there's not that need to invent a game.
When the kids were younger, that's true. As they got older, some of them can't look at screens in a moving car.
Oh, really?
They can't read in a moving car. It just makes them ill.
They should have played Bottle. That cures all motion sickness.
Bottle. They should have played Bottle, and it's not too late.
That's right. We thought about, is there a way to actually thought about that for both games. Was there a way to market the singing game or the bottle game? Well, I know we did it for the singing game. I'm not sure if we ever tried to figure it out for the bottle game.
Now, what would be interesting to do is if you played at night, you could use a laser pointer. And you put the laser pointer out on the road, and that's your bottle. And you got to keep that laser pointer from hitting something
until it hits a cop car, and then you get arrested.
Yeah, right, for zapping them with a laser.
Zapping. All right. Well, it don't sound right, but you've come to the end of this episode of That Don't Sound Right.
Well, before we close, we want to thank everyone for listening all last year, and thank you for starting into the new year with us. If this is your first time for 2025 or the first time ever, we hope you enjoyed the conversation. Consider hitting the subscribe button on the platform you listen with. If you're that long-time listener or a short-time listener, please give us a rating and leave us a review so others can easily find us and join the conversation.
All right. That Don't Sound Right is a production of TDSR Podcast in conjunction with Camel City Studios. I'm your co-host and sound engineer, Cecil. Peter is your web designer and your other host. Camille is your barista. Emily does your graphic design. Ella does your Instagram. Giorgio tests our merchandise.
Speaking of our
merchandise,
we have some serious supply chain issues with our merchandise supplier.
Yes,
if you tried to buy something from them, this is not Wonderfully Made Designs. This is our other merchandise online store. They are having seems like 3 or 4 month delays in their orders. If you've had this trouble, reach out to them. They'll give you free shipping. In the meantime, Cecil and I are working on a better place to get you that quality merchandise that you were all craving for.
Absolutely. Brent is our international brand ambassador. And as always, listener number one is Scott.
Scott.
So until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.